So in our final video, or not quite, I'm going to do a few more, but in the final series on these two, trying to make a slower one, there's the successful, slightly slower one I wanted. It's not super fast, it's not super slow. Look at the difference in wing profile. This says serious lift, baby. This wing is slightly lighter. I'm going to pull out the scale one more time, and you'll see that this is within my target weight, although you're with me. Ta-da! First time I have weighed it right now. I just finished it and just got it to the point where it flies beautifully. Flies straight, flies true. It's got a little bit of a nice profile. See the way the tail is angled up a little bit? In addition, I've given the leading edge of those a little bend down so they have a little lift. In addition, this has a bunch of lift, and it's a much higher profile. Even though it's made the same, it's a thicker wing. You see that? And it has these VGs on the back. So they actually create drag coming off the back, which actually encourages lift along the back of the edge of the wing. It's a great design, and we'll show it to you later. Sorry. Always got to remember to get the mode right. And let's see where we're at. Now, I did say that 24 to 28 was acceptable, but 28 was on the high side. This is actually a really nice weight, 26.4. Now, let's check this one again. 20.9, okay? And I'm just going to go out of my way here to make sure every square inch of it is on here, and I got 20.7. So we're looking at right around that. We'll call it, for sake of argument, just to be on the safe side, call that 21 grams is what I consider to be the optimal for speed. If you go too much lighter than that, they really don't get all that much of a good launch. I like a launch with a little bit of weight to it, but I still haven't found the exact perfect minimum weight. In fact, I can make this one lighter. Chop the nose, chop the wing back to make it more like a little P-51, and I'm going to see how fast I could really make it. But I'm not going to mess with this one to do it because I actually really like this one. It came out just perfect. Except that it's too fast. Okay, so if it's too fast, why would I want to make it faster, right? It's a crazy thing in design. On one hand, I want to make it faster. On the other hand, I also wanted to make it slower. Ta-da! Here's slower. Now, you might think you had to go to the big giant wing that I did before, and I kind of did. But look at it in comparison. This is a big giant wing in comparison to this. It's got 10% more surface area, at least, and it's got vertical generators along the back, vortex generators, and it's got a huge airfoil. Okay, believe it or not, all those do matter together because it makes a lot of lift, this wing, a ton of lift. And that is great because when I really launch this sucker outside, this is awesome, but it limits the speed. That is good. That's what I wanted. The trick is you don't want to limit it too much. Now, I also gave it a bigger tail, which means it could be great for doing tricks and stuff because it'll be very responsive to the tail. It's also not that heavy. It came in well under 30 grams, guys. But it's still several grams heavier than this one. 5 grams heavier. It has a longer spar, a bigger wing, and a bigger tail. But all that was done on purpose to make it heavier, to make it slower. So I was thinking 24 to 28 would be perfect and in the range of what I thought would be perfect. I landed right in the middle of that at 26. So this is a really good tester for me to go and experiment with. In addition, you'll notice this piece here, I cut it in half so that I could get the front wing even closer to the tail and still have something to launch it by and hold it by. Like I said, I use the tail anyway, so I'm not launching by that. I added some weight up top here to help it center the gravity just right. And I'll show you where we're at with that. It actually centers the gravities absolutely perfect, guys. Right where it should. Really nice and stable and just a tiny touch nose heavy. It's perfect CG-wise. More to the point, It's excellent aerodynamic wise, even though it's not as cool looking as the Stealth model. It looks kind of lame, but it's not. It works great. It's a good flyer, and this is the kind of cheap thing you could make for your kid out of an Agenda and a broken umbrella on a sunny day, and have a nice little project that they can take out and fly. They work awesome. Do not let them fly these in the house, guys. If they just have the pen lid on it, like this one, plus you're filling it with glue, it makes it pretty tough, and you could actually do some harm with these because they are pretty fast. I mean, this is like long dart speed, only without the sharp point. So, this one is even faster. I mean, this one, you feel the weight of these two, and you feel the difference. The other one was such a big difference. It felt like it was double the weight, and it almost was at 36 grams. It was almost double the weight of this guy at 20. So, I mean, you know, you don't want to go too heavy, but you don't want to go too light either. You start getting in the 21 gram range or under. I'd say 22. If you don't want it to be too fast, make that your minimum maximum. So for the minimum weight ones that you make it between 20 and 22 grams, and you'll find you have a wicked little bullet on your hands. 24, 26, 28, you're going to find what I have here. You're going to have a medium type machine where it's going to make good lift if you do it right. And honestly, this is just that one sheet, as you can see, folded over. I didn't even trim this rough stuff off. I just folded it over, glued it together, and the bloody thing flies awesome. You saw it smack the door. It didn't really drop. It's great for that because it's light and it has tons of lift. So this brings us to the next point. Power to weight ratio in a car determining acceleration is very similar to lift to weight determining how long it'll stay in the air with a plane. If I have lots of lift and not much weight, and I give it a whole bunch of speed, it's a little rocket ship. And that is the principles these work on. The elastic gives me my speed. The design gives me my profile, basically how fast it's going to be, how well it's going to handle, all that fun stuff. Now this one is designed for long straight flights. It is not designed for hardcore competition maneuvers, but it will be able to do a loop, it will be able to roll, and it will do all the classic maneuvers just by giving it inputs on the correct locations. And that is kind of sweet. I could even give it ailerons, but I'm not going to do that. If I did, I would split it in the place I want it to have an ailerons, because it is 2 levels, cut it at the bottom and make it like flaps, so I could put little underbody flaps. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably will. I'll probably put them right here so they're in good airflow and at a nice high lift point in the wing, not here where it's shrunken and crushed, but out here, and that'll be awesome. And then but not through the whole thing, just on the bottom layer. So that one bottom layer will have a flap, like you would want on a slow flying airplane. And then these I'm going to have elevator, and I've made them so they won't be terribly effective because it's only going to be the distance from here to here. That is going to be my elevator, which is great because if I turn it up just a little bit, I get just the tiniest little effect from the tips of these in the air. It's why I went with this design. It's epic. The same goes for the tail. It has a tip, so when it's angled this way, if I start leaning it over a little bit, this slim little angle here makes it so that this back of the tail will touch before the entire fin surface gets into it. That back edge touches, and I've shortened the back edge so it won't be quite as sensitive. That way, you can get nice flights without crazy complicated adjustments. This is the easiest one to fly of the ones I will make, more than likely. In fact, I'm only going to make 2 more, and you'll see when I make them, they are totally different in sail plan type of deal than these guys, you might think, but not really. I know that this is really fast, and this is about as slow as I want to go and still have fun. It's got a huge lift profile. I'm going to make one that has a little smaller wing area like this one, right in between these two. It's not going to have these. It's going to have a smoother wing, and I'm going to make it look more like an F-86 Sabre. This is a very similar tail configuration to an F-86 Sabre, and it's going to have a similar one to this, but more sleek, a slimmer wing than this, but more sleek, and come in right around 22 grams, 23 grams, 24 grams. And you'll see it'll be epic. That's the next goal. So in the end, I don't have a big, huge looking stealth machine. It's not really appropriate for what we're flying here. It's not the kind of thing that I actually want to make, because even though it looked cool and it was awesome, it flew great. It just doesn't have good duration. It doesn't get good speed. There's not enough power in the launch system to really give it good launch. And if you want these to be easy to use, quick launch with your kids kind of stuff, you don't want them to be too crazy fast, and you don't want them to be too slow. Right in the middle is pretty much perfect. So I'm going to focus my efforts right in the middle. Now that we know what the upper limits are, I know what the lower limit is, we're going to play in the middle. So this one's 26 grams. The next one will have a lighter wing by about 2 grams and a lighter tail by about 1/4 of a gram, and a shorter here that'll be lighter by another 1/4 of a gram, which should give me about 2.5 grams less weight than I have in this one, which will make it awesome because it'll also have a slimmer wing with less resistance, which means it'll be faster. So we'll have super fast, fast, and reasonably quick, but not super fast. This one's actually pretty slow, but it's a really good flyer, and it gives you good range, and it flies with a nice arc. It doesn't just drop down. It cruises, and if you give it a little up, it goes up. Give it a little right, it goes right. It's a nice little setup. That being said, this is done. I'm almost at 12 minutes, but it takes a lot to explain to you guys what the ins and outs of this are and how it really works. And not just tell you, but to give you demonstrations. Keith out.